Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya Narang cha narottama Deving saraswating vyasam Tadojaya mudarayet Nasta presho badreshu Nityang bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatuttama shloke Bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Prayers by the Demigods, text number 35. Satvang na ched datar idang nijang bhaved. Vijnanam Agyana Beda Padarjanam. Guna Prakashar Anumiyate Bhavan. Prakashate yasya cha yena vagunaha. Sattvam, Shuddha Sattva, transcendental, na, not, chet, if, data, O reservoir of all energies, cause of all causes, idam, this, nijam, personal, spiritual, bhavet, could have been, vijnanam, transcendental knowledge, agyana bidha, which drives away the ignorance of the material modes, apamarjanam, completely vanquished, guna prakashai, by the awakening of such transcendental knowledge, anumiyate, becomes manifested, bhavan, your lordship, prakashate, exhibit, yasya, whose, cha, and yena, by which, va, either, gunaha, quality or intelligence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Lord, cause of all causes, if your transcendental body were not beyond the modes of material nature, one could not understand the difference between matter and transcendence. Only by your presence can one understand the transcendental nature of your Lordship, who are the controller of material nature. Your transcendental nature is very difficult to understand unless one is influenced by the presence of your transcendental form. Repeat responsively. O Lord, cause of all causes. If your transcendental body were not beyond the modes of material nature, one could not understand the difference between matter and transcendence. Only by your presence can one understand the transcendental nature of your Lordship, who are the controller of material nature. Your transcendental nature is very difficult to understand unless one is influenced by the presence of your transcendental form. Srila Prabhupada's purport, it's a little bit long, so your attention is required. It is said, Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna. Unless one is situated in transcendence, one cannot understand the transcendental nature of the Lord, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Atapite Deva Padam Bhujadvayam Prasada Leshanu Grihita Evahi Janati Tatvang Bhagavan Mahimno Nachanya Ekopi Cherang Vichinvan. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can one understand Him. Those who are in the modes of material nature, although speculating for thousands of years, cannot understand Him. The Lord has innumerable forms, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishta. And unless these forms, such as Lord Ramachandra, Narasimhadev, Krishna, and Balaram, were transcendental, how could they be worshipped by devotees since time immemorial? Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tattvataha. Devotees who awaken their transcendental nature in the presence of the Lord and who follow the rules and regulations of devotional service can understand Lord Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, and other incarnations who are not of this material world, but who come from the spiritual world for the benefit of people in general. If one does not take to this process, one imagines or manufactures some form of God according to material qualities and can never awaken a real understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tattvataha signify that unless one worships the Lord according to the regulative devotional principles, one cannot awaken the transcendental nature. Deity worship, even in the absence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, awakens the transcendental nature of the devotee, who thus becomes increasingly attached to the Lord's lotus feet. The appearance of Krishna is the answer to all imaginative iconography of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone imagines the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his mode of material nature. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is the oldest person. Therefore, a section of religionists imagine that God must be very old, and therefore they depict a form of the Lord like a very old man. But in the same Brahma Samhita, that is contradicted. Although he is the oldest of all living entities, he has his eternal form as a fresh youth. The exact words used in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam are Vijnanam, Ajnana, Beda Pamarjanam. Vijnana means transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality. Vijnana is also experienced knowledge. Transcendental knowledge has to be accepted by the descending process of disciplic succession as Brahma presents the knowledge of Krishna in the Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita is Vijnana as realized by Brahma's transcendental experience. In that way, he presented the form and the pastimes of Krishna in the transcendental abode. Ajnana Bidha means that which can match all kinds of speculation. In ignorance, people are imagining the form of the Lord. Sometimes he has no form and sometimes he has form according to their different imaginations. But the presentation of Krishna in the Brahma Samhita is Vijnana, scientific, experienced knowledge given by Lord Brahma and accepted by Lord Chaitanya. There is no doubt about it. Shri Krishna's form, Shri Krishna's flute, Krishna's color, everything is reality. Here it is said that Vijnana is always defeating all kinds of speculative knowledge. Therefore the demigods prayed, without your appearing as Krishna, as you are, neither Ajnana Bidha, the nescience of speculative knowledge, nor Vijnana would be realized. Ajnana Bidha Pamarjanam, by your appearance, the speculative knowledge of ignorance will be vanquished, and the real, experienced knowledge of authorities like Lord Brahma will be established. Men influenced by the three modes of material nature imagine their own God according to the modes of material nature. In this way, God is presented in various ways, but your appearance will establish what the real form of God is. The highest blunder committed by the impersonalist is to think that when the incarnation of God comes, he accepts a form of matter in the mode of goodness. Actually, the form of Krishna or Narayan is transcendental to any material ideas. Even the greatest impersonalist, Shankaracharya, has admitted Narayana Paro Vyakta. The material creation is caused by the avyakta, the impersonal manifestation of matter, or the non-phenomenal total reservoir of matter, and Krishna is transcendental to that material conception. This is expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam as Shuddha Sattva, or transcendental. The Lord does not belong to the material modes of goodness, for he is above the position of material goodness. He belongs to the transcendental, eternal status of bliss and knowledge. Dear Lord, the demigods prayed, when you appear in your different incarnations, you take different names and forms according to different situations. Lord Krishna is your name because you're all attractive. You're called Shyama Sundar because of your transcendental beauty. Shama means blackish. Yet they say that you're more beautiful than thousands of cupids. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya. Although you appear in a color which is compared to that of a blackish cloud, you are the transcendental absolute, and therefore your beauty is many, many times more attractive than the delicate body of Cupid. Sometimes you're called Giridhari. Giridhari ki. Yeah. Shruta, you're not paying attention. Giridhari ki. Yeah. Thank you. Because you lifted the hill known as Govardhan. You're sometimes called Nandanandana or Vasudeva or Devaki Nandana because you appear as the son of Maharaj Nanda or Devaki or Vasudeva. Impersonalists think that your many names or forms are according to a particular type of work and quality because they accept you from the position of a material observer. Our dear Lord, the way of understanding is not to study your absolute nature, form, and activities by mental speculation. One must engage himself in devotional service. Then one can understand your absolute nature and your transcendental form, name, and quality. Actually, only a person who has a little taste for the service of your lotus feet can understand your transcendental nature or form and quality. Others may go on speculating for millions of years, but it is not possible for them to understand even a single part of your actual position. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, cannot be understood by non-devotees because there is a curtain of Yoga Maya which covers Krishna's actual features. As confirmed in the Bhagavad-Gita, Naham Prakasya Sarvasya, the Lord says, I am not exposed to anyone and everyone. When Krishna came, he was actually present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and everyone saw him, but not everyone could understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, everyone who died in his presence attained complete liberation from material bondage and was transferred to the spiritual world. Because foolish mudhas do not awaken their spiritual nature, they do not understand Krishna or Rama. Avajananting mang mudha manushing tanumashritam. Even big academic scholars, not considering the endeavors of the acharyas who have recommended devotional service and many elaborate commentaries and notes, think that Krishna is factitious. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Krishna Balaram Lalita Vishaka Radhe Shyam Ki Jai. Even big academic scholars, not considering the endeavors of the acharyas who have recommended devotional service and many elaborate commentaries and notes, think that Krishna is fictitious. This is due to a lack of transcendental knowledge and a failure to awaken Krishna consciousness. One should have the common sense to ask why, if Krishna or Rama were fictitious, stalwart scholars like Sridhar Swami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Veera Raghava, Vijayadvaja, Ballabhacharya, and many others, recognized acharyas would have spent so much time to write about Krishna in notes and commentaries in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki. In one purport, he smashes everything of the mundaners. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistang Stapitang Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this chapter is entitled Prayers by the Demigods. Very powerful chapter, 10th canto, 2nd chapter. And it's leading up to how Krishna, the transference of Balaram to Rohini, and Krishna from the pure mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki appears, and how Kamsa realizes my destiny is coming, but he couldn't do anything about it at that time because of the nature of the situation and his sister being pregnant under his care in the prison house and his reputation. He was totally felt anxiety and fully in a negative way meditating on Krishna at all times. But here we're hearing how the demigods, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, Lord Shiva, and all the demigods came incognito, invisible to the mundaners. Now Krishna doesn't have to hear prayers from demigods about how he has a wonderful transcendental body and he appears for the protection of his devotees, annihilation of the demons, and how materialistic people misunderstand when God appears, why he appears. They think of him as also a material manifestation of this world and the mode of goodness. All these prayers, they seem elementary at times, very simple and simplistic. But the demigods, empowered by Krishna, are glorifying Krishna in such a way that we can understand the intricacies of spiritual life. We can understand what are the pitfalls, what are the distractions, how people on the bodily platform are simply creating their own religious practices, thinking that by performing some pious religious activities, the gods will be pleased and I will be blessed with money, with economic development, religion, economic development. What was the purpose of my money? What is the purpose of economic development and my so-called success? Sense gratification. Everyone is interested in sense gratification, either on a very minute platform that's called false ego, thinking that we can be happy, that we can manipulate the material energy in such a way that by my intelligence and by my prowess, I can overcome old age, disease, and death, like Ravana, Stairway to Heaven. Even modern rock and roll band made a song, Stairway to Heaven. People think that we don't need to do so-called religious activities or pious activities. With my own strength, my own ability, I'll overcome the material nature. So people have a misunderstanding based upon their tradition, their religion, their culture, time, place, and circumstance. Who is God? Oh, he's the oldest. Must be a very old man with a white beard and a lot of wrinkles, because God is old. Oh, but he's the youth. He's ever fresh. So sometimes there are, contradictions in scripture. It may appear, just like in the Vedic literature, if something is Vedic, you take it as authoritative. Veda means knowledge. So is this Vedic injunction? Yes. Okay, then I must follow it. But in the Veda it says if you touch stool, you must immediately take bath. But cow dung is used for purification. It sounds like a contradiction. Bone of an animal, impure. Conch shell is very pure. Many examples are there. So Vedic injunctions are scientific and proven and actually very consistent. So if one understands the Vedas, and Krishna says, Vedascha sarvaham eva Veda. Krishna is the speaker of the Vedas. He is the original source of knowledge. Tene brahma hridadi kavaya muhyati surya. So Krishna not only creates Lord Brahma, creates all the universes, but also he enters into the heart of Brahma and all living entities and gives knowledge. He gives knowledge and understanding by which we can come to Krishna. So Krishna is giving us all knowledge according to our desire and according to our surrender. Yeyata mang prapadyate tangs tataiva bhajamyaham. If you're working in a corporation, you're pleasing the proprietor nicely, he's happy with your work, he reciprocates. But if you're dodging everything and hiding and sleeping all the time, not doing your duties, then he might think, well, why I should reciprocate with this fool? So we have to, in our own way, also make the endeavor. The endeavor has to be there. So the demigods for the pleasure of the Lord, are glorifying Him, that you are transcendental, premanjana churita bhakti velochanena, that only by pure devotional service can one understand your transcendental form, bhakti mama vijanati, only by devotion and love can one approach God. So it's not an artificial thing. Oh yeah, I love God. What is the proof of love? Action, activity. We have a nice marathon going on and people want to know, well, how do I do that? Just having a desire to spread this knowledge of Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The demigods are glorifying the Lord because He's transcendental. He appears for the pleasure of the devotees to annihilate irreligion, re-establish religious principles. So the devotees, who are devotees, those who are genuine and sincere, they want to carry out the mission of the Lord, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That He's giving this message of Bhagavad-Gita, which establishes that we're not the chemical combination of earth, water, fire, air, bones, blood, pus, stool, urine. These are all ingredients which are part of Krishna's manifestation. But there is a transcendental nature, which is the living entity, the spirit soul, and it's totally different than a material combination. All science and so-called leaders and philosophy is based on the bodily concept. My nation, my country, my religion, my countrymen, everyone is very much ingrained, and that illusion is reinforced by so-called teachers, which are actually cheaters, because a real teacher speaks the truth. He speaks the Vedic literature. And the beginning, Janmad Yasya Yaton Vayadit Ratash Chateshu Abhigyaswarat, that the demigods are praying to the Lord that you are the absolute truth. So Krishna, He wants the truth. He doesn't like hypocrisy. He doesn't like that one says something but does something different. We're all working on ourselves. We're all having issues, challenges, anger issues, envy issues, jealousy issues. How to bring that love that's naturally in our heart. How do we actually awaken our devotion? How do we awaken our love to the point to inspire us to render unconditional devotional service? Unconditional devotional service means that we're very eager to hear from Krishna, and Krishna is giving to Brahma, to Narada, to Vyasadeva. That's why when the Guru birthday or appearance day, we call it Vyasa Puja, because the Vyasadeva is non-different than Krishna, because they're conveying the same message, the same truth as Krishna. So we worship the Guru, Tadviri Pranipatena Pariprashnena Seva Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnanas Tattva Darshana. This knowledge and realization of the demigods comes because of their surrender to Krishna, comes because of their surrender to Guru. In the original Guru, Adi Guru, Lord Nityananda, Lord Balaram, Krishna Himself is the original giver of knowledge, of the absolute truth. So if we don't have the faith and we don't have the determination to surrender to Guru and accept, you think, oh, my Guru's a mundane person, or the Vaishnava, he's a mundaner, look at his behavior. We can always analyze anybody and everybody and find fault from a mundane platform. But it's described as hellish mentality, that if we see the Guru, or we see the Vaishnava as a mundane personality, not connected to Krishna and the spiritual Guru Parampara, it's a hellish mentality. So why take the risk of trying to be overly analytical? Better we remain humble and serve the mission of Guru, serve the mission of Krishna through the Guru Parampara. Brahma, Narada, Shiva, Kapila, Bhishma, Janaka, Shukadeva Goswami, Yamaraj, so many authorities are there, and they are all speaking the same thing. This whole translation and purport is trying to get us off the mundane platform of seeing simply that, oh yeah, Krishna appeared, he was just a very strong, famous person, he had a lot of girlfriends, you know. They have no conception or no idea of the transcendental nature of Krishna. Because Krishna blinds the atheist. Krishna covers the living entity with the yoga maya. Krishna covers us with Mahamaya, because we want to enjoy this material world separate from Krishna. We don't want to surrender or accept authority. Some people in the beginning felt, oh, I should bow down. You know, it kind of really affects my ego if I have to bow down. What to speak of repeatedly bow down. People sometimes give the image that, oh, you're just a slave mentality. You're being manipulated and controlled by somebody. You don't use your own intelligence. Your own independence is taken away. What kind of religion is this? Because we're bound by the ropes of lust, the ropes of greed, envy, jealousy, and misunderstanding. On top of that, we get old age, disease and death, illusion, insanity. All these are forced upon us. We can't think that by my own power I'm going to overcome death. Who's going to overcome death? Who's going to overcome old age? So all these entrapments of the material world are forced upon us. Unless we surrender wholeheartedly, with enthusiasm and happy determination, then we're forced to grow old. We're forced to get diseased, and we're forced to die. And someone would think, well, devotees are doing that as well. But if one genuinely, enthusiastically is serving the mission of Guru, hearing the prayers of the demigods, hearing the prayers of Lord Shiva, hearing the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Queen Kunti, the message of Lord Kapila Dev, so many messages throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his intricate dealings with his devotees, his renunciation, his love for his mother, his love for his devotees, his exchange of various relationships which are bewildering to the mind of an ordinary mundaner. When one devotee wanted to hear the truth, he said, you go to Ramananda Roy, he'll give you the truth. And what's Ramananda Roy doing? He has a new play for Lord Jagannath, and he's training the dancing girls. Not only that, he's dressing them and preparing them. And the person thought, how am I going to hear from this person? You know, how I can hear from such a person? But it describes the characteristic. Not that we imitate, and sometimes we give extreme examples, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, you go back, you hear from him. And when Lord Chaitanya, he heard from Ramananda Roy the process of devotional service, the beauty of Krishna in his pastimes, he was totally overwhelmed. So we cannot, from a mundane platform, try to judge. You know, obviously we have to use our common sense, we have to use our intelligence. We don't want to be muzzled or blinded by some false authority. But once you see, Prabhupada says that there's a time of examination, a new person. The Guru examines for 1 year, the prospective disciple examines the Guru, he understands the basic understanding of the Vedic literature. But once you make that very good conscious decision that I'm surrendering to my spiritual master, then that in itself gives you strength, and you have to have faith. Even when the whole thing of the moon mission, it stirred many people's so-called intelligence, but the scientists say this, or the Americans say that. Okay, the Americans and scientists are your guru, but the Vedic scriptures are my guru. You know, in the Vedic literatures, although we read the 5th canto 100 times, we're still bewildered. You know, how does it all fit together? Some things we have to understand that as a baby, you may not understand the science of quantum mechanics, and there's no way you're going to ever understand that. It's just too intricate and too difficult. So we're all little babies in spiritual life. We're all little children. We need to have the faith that Srila Prabhupada is the bona fide authorized representative of Srila Vyasadeva, Krishna Balaram, Gaura-Nitai, Radha-Shama Sundar, Goswamis. He's carrying the message of all the acharyas. And these translations and purports are his realizations and his ecstasies. He said like that, isn't it? And he was always amazed to hear Krishna book and hear the books that have been translated, because it's not, what is your opinion, Prabhupada? I have no opinion. I am simply repeating the words of the acharyas, of Guru, of Krishna. So have firm faith, have conviction. Don't deviate. Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction. So much is there. And Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my books. Everything I have to say is in my books. And in the association of devotees, live in the holy dham, chant the holy name of the Lord, in the association of devotees, be humble, Trinadapi sunichina, tarodapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. We want to chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. How do we do it? Offer respect to others. Be humble. And it's not easy it's hard to be humble. It's very difficult. We all have to work on ourselves for these things. But these are prescribed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so let's follow by enthusiastically chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Encouraging others to chant the holy name. I had one doctor, he's actually the state COVID doctor, Dr. Nishan. He came to my house for a visit for a few hours. And he was saying how the holy name has changed his whole perspective of life, and how he sees the uselessness of material pursuit. The so-called goals of politicians, industrialists, people who are simply after kingdoms and wealth. He said, the name has given me freedom of fear and anxiety. So the name is medicine. The holy name is the medicine to control the mad mind. It's the medicine of the heart. And if we're giving the message of Bhagavad-Gita, we're giving the message of chanting the Lord's name, because the Lord is present in His name. And by awakening our spiritual nature, we can become free from fear, anxiety. People are suffering in the material world with pandemic, epidemic, bodily this fearful condition is very, imagine not having the knowledge of Krishna and not having the shelter of chanting His holy name, being surrounded by people dying and screaming and suffering, the relatives also thinking, well, when this poor fellow will die, I can get my inheritance. You see in the picture of the Bhagavatam, sometimes all the relatives are standing in the waiting room waiting. The old person is all hooked up to all the tubes, they're getting ready to pass away, and they're looking at their, thinking, for God's sake already, let's get on with life. Everybody wants to get on with life, but everyone is going to meet the same destination: old age, disease, and death. 5, 10, 20, 50 years, a little time separates all of us, but anyone born in this material world, it has to die. But Krishna, He's ever-existing, primeval. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Eternal, ever-existing, undying, primeval. He's the most beautiful person in the universe. So He personally appears to attract us. That He's, when the description of Krishna and Balaram, is just so magical and mystifying, and the characteristics of the spiritual world. Why would someone from the spiritual kingdom, Chintamani Dham, want to come to this rotting material existence only out of love and compassion? Krishna is our Father. Out of love and compassion, He exhibits so many incarnations. Lord Nrsingadev, to fulfill not only the promise of Brahma, but to save Prahlad in such a unique way. Lord Vamanadev, Matsya Avatar, Kalki, just now coming. So many incarnations of the Lord are there because He loves everyone. He loves everyone, and He's repeating Bhagavad-Gita. I spoke to the sun god millions and millions of years ago. Arjuna's thinking, well, who am I? I'm not qualified for this. No, you're my devotee, you're my friend. So Krishna is not looking at all the rules and regulations and rituals we're performing. But of course, one should never give up tapa. One should never give up austerities. They go hand in hand. But we also have to use our common sense and intelligence in the association of devotees, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and hopefully we get it right. And sometimes we make mistakes. Many times we make mistakes. That's why we have Maharajas, we have older people. Sometimes the young people are also have good ideas, sometimes better than the old people. But we all have to live in such a community situation where we're all helping one another, encouraging one another for spiritual life, and hopefully, because sometimes managers are rascals and cause you so much trouble. I hope it's a difficult situation. They call it a rock in a hard place. You want to make one decision, so 50% hate you. You make another decision, the other 50% hate you. But it's I don't want to bring that up, but the idea is that we want to serve Guru and Krishna in a humble mood and pray for the intelligence to resolve all our challenges and stumbling blocks. And I think that by hearing Bhagavatam class, especially the words of Krishna, Vyasadeva, and Srila Prabhupada's purports of all the great acharyas, there's great potency, there's great magic that will dissolve the hard knot in the heart. They say it's iron, like coal, dark, and cold-hearted or hard-hearted. We had in Miami, Govinda's Vaikuntha building. For a little while we had a co-presidency. I was president with one devotee, Harish Chandra. They call him hard-hearted Haris. So we had to do, because he was very firm and very stringent. But that's necessary. Guru can be very, very strong, like a thunderbolt, but also very loving, like a rose flower. And we have to be willing to understand that it's all for love. It should be for love. And let us appreciate the beauty of Krishna. By worshiping the deities nicely, one can awaken his love for Krishna. By chanting the holy name 24 hours a day, day and night, one can awaken his love for Krishna. By serving the Vaishnavas, living in the holy Dham, we're all very, very fortunate. The whole world, everywhere is suffering. But in Sri Vrindavan Dham, even though there appears to be suffering, you're in the right place at the right time and have the greatest opportunity for advancing in spiritual life and utilizing the human form of life for its ultimate purpose of awakening our love for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Any questions or comments? Maharaji, would you like to say something? Anybody? Questions, comments? Yes? Dharmatma. This garland, it keeps falling apart. Turn on the mic, see if somebody can help you with that. Okay, speak loudly, I'll repeat it.
Hare
Thank you so much for a very wonderful...
I have a question.
Yes.
In this,
Okay.
in this verse, as we see that all the demigods glorifies Krishna. At the same time, we Vaishnavas also glorifies Krishna to atheists. In India, friends or relatives or and it is also Srila Prabhupada's mission that we have to give Krishna to others, and we have to get this. But Prabhu, at times it's so difficult to convince them to as you say that this act of giving Dandavat Pranam, they comment in a wrong way. So we have two realization. Either as it is also mentioned in Nectar of Instruction that you should not preach to atheists,
Atheistic people, non-believers. Yeah.
Prabhu, as Vaishnava, what should we do? Should we really leave them? Or we also feel that they are also suffering. But we too have suffered, but since we have Krishna with us, we know that this is the highest level.
Yes. I understand.
Let's take that shelter and let's not get into this. But we know that our friends or anyone is also suffering, and we really want to give them Krishna. We are trying to convince them, but they have a different.
I understand. It's recommended in the scripture that we do not approach or try to speak to atheistic or non-believers, but it also says that the devotees are even more kind than the Lord. I remember I was in Miami airport for many years, and you would give books to as many people. Many times you see they end up in the garbage, or they may not, and some people may even argue with you from different religious beliefs or this or that. So we very carefully and not attached, you have to, of course, use our intelligence too, that we try to give everyone Krishna consciousness. I remember my brother for 35 years, I tried to explain to him, but he didn't want to hear anything. But then he was in a difficult situation, so I gave the holy name and read, and then all of a sudden this works. This is something special. So we're not in control. We don't waste our time arguing with mundane religionists and non-believers. But it's like we have to utilize our time wisely. I know, like when you're on Sankirtan, you're trained. You see people coming. You actually get a certain power to recognize. Receptive. You start recognizing, and Krishna gives you the ability and the intelligence. But then sometimes we say, well, you should give everyone a chance, and that's true, because sometimes the most you approach somebody you thought, I never thought he would ever take a book or reciprocate, and Krishna is amazing like that. So in one sense, we want to give everyone the mercy. But then when you see that this person is not a recipient, you move on. And then you do find those who are very much appreciative, and you plant a lot of seeds. You're just a messenger. You're a postman. You can't help it if people don't like what the mail is. We're just giving enthusiastically on behalf of Prabhupada and Krishna the message of Bhagavad-Gita with great enthusiasm to everyone, especially we want to convince our family members. But generally, even Prabhupada could not, he said, at home, people don't always appreciate a sadhu in his own family. And there's a reason, because people in general are on the mundane platform, bodily platform. So as messengers, Vishnu Dutas, as messengers of Krishna and Vishnu, we try our level best, maintaining a good state of mind. Don't get depressed if people are not accepting or rejecting, or sometimes even chastising you, like, get out of my face, I don't want to see you. Yeah, okay, And then there's others who may say, oh, thank you, you've saved my life, or I really much appreciate. So we're not attached to the end result, but as a soldier on the battlefield, he does his duty. So be a nice soldier, do your duty, and give Krishna consciousness best you can, and avoid the enemy at all costs, and find those people who are receptive, and Krishna will send them. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Guru, thank you for a wonderful class. Prabhu, I have two short questions. During the discourse you were telling about Ramananda and how he was, the person goes and sees that he's, dealing with the girls and all, and dressing them. So, in our life, we are also associating with the devotees who are far more seniors. So, what should be our approach when we see contradictory, preaching is something and action is something else? So, what should be our mode? We should accept his attitude, close our eyes and move on with our bhakti? Or what should we do?
Yeah, everybody has, according to their, position in life. Obviously, they say if you see Lord Nityananda going into the bar, we're not thinking he's in there to drink and party, but from an ordinary point of view, you might think that. And I remember even being on Sankirtan, we'd go from store to store, and sometimes you'd end up at places which would normally you wouldn't want to be in. But we weren't there for the purpose of the mundane activities that are going on. And like I said, if we're overly trying to analyze and judge, of course if something is very blatant, you may want to share with an authority that could look into it and deal with it. We're all in the shower trying to clean ourselves. We all come from fallen backgrounds, Kali Yuga, we have issues, we all have issues. And not that we with blindfolds accept everything and allow everything to go on around us, but we have to analyze, is it really my duty to analyze and fix the situation? Share it and maybe it can be resolved on a different level. It's very complex. Living in the material world is not an easy place. Understanding spiritual values is not easy, and how to judge who's who and what's what, that's not also easy as well. I'm not saying I'm the authority. Prabhupada's giving a lot of indication, and somebody will read the same line and say, aha, you see? And somebody will say, aha, you see? With a different meaning. So we all have our own ideas and interpretations of what's right and what's wrong, but we're hoping to stay together, keep reading, keep chanting, keep serving, and Krishna will help us with the intelligence to resolve the intricacies of the challenges that arise in our society. We have a lot of challenges, and challenges are always there. The Pandavas face so many challenges. Throughout Ramayana there's challenges, throughout Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's challenges. Don't think there'll be no challenges. There'll always be challenges. We'll always be tested. What is our faith? What is our simplicity? Where's our humility? What is our honesty? Honesty is a big thing. Mother Earth can tolerate anything, but someone who's a liar, who's a cheater, who's a hypocrite. So if we're having difficulty with that, we should work on that, because better to be a genuine person than a pretender. And if we're having issues with that, take shelter of God brothers, God sisters, take shelter of Veda, Krishna, Guru, and Krishna will give us intelligence. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.